Well, Father George Saltzman here at the Harvard Catholic Center. We're here in the chapel of the Women Doctors of the Church at St. Paul's Parish in Harvard Square. They say when people say they're the smartest people in the room, it's often the sign that they're con men trying to trick us. And it's also, unfortunately, often noted that we sometimes think we're the smartest people in the room. And it's at a time like that when con men can pick us off, that's often the hook they can use to sort of pull us in and guide us. And suddenly later, looking back, we realized we weren't really smart at all, but we were just more easily taken in. When I was a postdoc in molecular biology at Princeton, working on P53, the tumor suppressor gene, there was this marvelous building, $38 million building, new building, and great rooms at each end with the blackboards and couches to talk about your research and critique it and hang out. And so we would do that. But then occasionally on the riff, we would sort of just try to come up with things to see if we could con one another. And what we usually found was the Achilles heel was someone too sure of himself or herself, and then the work was more easily done. So I'd like to suggest this summer that the matter of a marvelous book by C.S. Lewis, The Screwtape Letters. It's a letter from an older, experienced devil to a young beginner, a novice devil, telling him ways to take advantage of us mortals. And that's one of the things particularly relied on. The fact the older devil says, sit back, don't do any work, because usually we mortals are simple enough to take ourselves in. Particularly in cases where we think we're the smartest people in the room, we usually end up being taken in ourselves all the more easily. And so I remember this past weekend I had homily, which I used Saturday and then Sunday. And Sunday it all came out okay, and I was recommending the Screwtape Letters, but I forgot even to mention them on Saturday. And indeed, without that center, it didn't make quite that much sense what I was trying to say. Almost as if the devil had taken me in, or I had taken myself in, thinking I knew it cold when I really did not. God's help is ever at hand, the commandments and statutes we've been given. That's what our first reading this past Sunday, 30th chapter of Deuteronomy said. That it's not something far away, it's not something up in the sky, it's something to hand in your heart and on your lips already. Simply a matter of doing it, and that's what we have to do. It is true, sometimes in life there are matters that are complex, but then we work at that together. So, for instance, years ago, the pastor here, Father J. Brian Hare, helped the American bishops come up with a statement, a letter, on nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are no small thing. If you think of what you have Kate talk about as the nuclear sword of Damocles hanging by a single thread over the head of the human race. When you think of not just atomic bombs, but nuclear bombs, take out whole metropolitan areas, and if you think of the people, so many fingers on the button, and the frailty of humans, it's a scary matter to be dealt with. On the other hand, unilateral disarmament solves nothing, and so the bishops had to go to work to figure out exactly what to suggest for all of us to think about and how to feel this and what to do. And it was enormously helpful. Father Hare became a MacArthur Fellow on the strength of it, and later was at the Kennedy School already, later Dean of the Divinity School, and a great resource was the work that he did and the bishops together did. Another example in complex matters, we just had the Society of Catholic Scientists here, the former president of it and the philosopher as well. First fellow was a physicist, and with about a dozen graduate students talking about science and religion. And so there's matters of evolution vis-a-vis Genesis, or the Big Bang vis-a-vis our understanding of creation, are things we have to talk about. And what I mentioned to you in last week's e-blast, the message there, included the website of the Society of Catholic Science, a magnificent website, really helpful with its frequently asked questions on those very topics that I just mentioned. And last of all, St. John Paul II put out the Catechism of the Catholic Church, 3 C's in a row, the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And that has an awful lot of things to help us think about matters which sometimes we come up with goofy ideas. And so that matter of doctrine and sacraments, on morals and on prayer and spirituality, very helpful things to help us reminisce what we knew but have sort of forgotten or gotten into the breakdown late about. One of the most touching Gospels is the one we had this past week, that of the Good Samaritan, the 10th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke, verses 25 to 37. A scholar will always speaking of Christ and talking about the basic commands of love of God and neighbor. And then Christ tells the following story, that there was a fellow beaten up and left for dead. And a priest came by and just walked by, passed on by. And then a Levite came by and moved to the other side of the street. And then finally a third person came by and went over to the poor thing and bound up his wounds, put oil on them, took him on his beast to an inn, and carried him there. And then at the inn took care of his wounds, looked after him, cared for him, and then having to be somewhere else, paid for him, and then left further money, and then said he would reimburse the rest when he got back. Genuine care. Of course, our Lord raised the hackers of many by pointing out that this was a Samaritan. Help comes in unexpected ways. But the Samaritan was moved with compassion, and we are at our best when we're moved by compassion. There's a great example. Pope St. John the 23rd was in Istanbul, Constantinople, during the Second World War, and he was writing to the Vatican about cases of Jews and what was being done to them, and some of the higher-ups weren't really interested to hear it. And he was still insistent upon it anyway, even though it didn't help his reputation. But he still pushed the point because he said, I could not be like the priest or the Levite moving to the other side of the road. I had to raise these matters. The Good Samaritan who looked at the fellow all beaten up, saw him with the eyes of compassion. And that's what we're expected to do. People have told me, and I find it salutary, that the whole gospel can be encapsulated in a single phrase also by St. Luke, Luke 6:36. Be compassionate as your heavenly Father is compassionate. The good Lord, the Word incarnate, revealing to us what the unseen Father is like, compassion, an ocean of mercy. And that's what we're to do in turn in our own lives, if we're to be Christians. Be compassionate as your heavenly Father is compassionate. May God bless you all your days. Take care.